These guys are not screwing around. They're ruthless. They're trying to rig the election before one vote is cast.
What's the alternative to Prop 50?
If I would be a Democrat, I would say outperform Trump. Don't out-cheat Trump.
So that's California's current and former governor, both talking to us here on The Story Is, with very different views on California's Prop 50. That proposition, now before voters, would redraw California's congressional map to help Democrats and temporarily get rid of the state's Redistricting Commission. That comes after Texas lawmakers redrew their districts to help Republicans. Let's bring in our panel to debate that and more. Brian Tyler Cohen is host of the podcast No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. He's helped to raise $1 million for Prop 50 at an online event with Governor Newsom he helped to organize. And Jessica Millan Patterson is the current chair of the No on 50 campaign. She's the previous chair of the California Republican Party. Jessica, Brian, welcome. Good to have both of you here. Last night, Governor Newsom had a whole lot of time to talk. So Jessica, let's start with you. Why no on Prop 50?
Well, fair maps are at the cornerstone of making sure that we have accountable elected officials. When politicians are drawing their own maps, the voters lose. Right now, we have to make the decision. Are we going to protect that fairness, or are we going to protect political power and privilege? And that's what is at stake on November 4th. Is
that what's at stake, Brian?
Well, look, that's a great message, and you should have delivered that to Donald Trump when he demanded that Texas redraw their maps, and that's exactly what they did. What's happening in California right now is not happening in a vacuum. This is a response to Donald Trump issuing his clarion calls to his minions in the Republican Party. And since then, we've seen redrawn maps in Texas, in North Carolina, in Missouri, and now we have Republican officials going into Indiana, Ohio, Florida, Kansas to do the exact same thing. So again, this is a response to an overreach from Republicans, not happening in a vacuum.
And so what's your response to that?
Well, let's be clear. What's happening in Texas is very different than what's happening here in California. Texas is required to redraw their lines because they were in violation of the Voting Rights Act and the 14th Amendment. We have the Citizens Redistricting Commission here in California who take that very seriously. And that's why in both Sacramento and Washington, D.C., we have some of the most diverse delegations. We have communities of interest and minority communities that are represented, and their voices are heard so well in both of those places because of the Citizens Redistricting Commission.
But Jessica, President Trump literally put out a post saying that he felt like he was entitled to 5 more seats, and then we end up with maps that clearly advantage Republicans in Texas. I mean, that's not just a coincidence, is it?
I'm sure it's not. But what's clear is just because it's happening somewhere else doesn't mean that it's okay that it's happening here. California has a great history of these political reforms, going all the way back to the statewide ballot initiative. California voters have been clear on this. They want that power to be with the people, not with politicians.
The polls right now seem to indicate something else.
Correct. I think if you look at all the polling right now, it would indicate the polar opposite of what you're saying. And the reality is that you're right. It is different because in Texas, it happened by fiat. It was just a bunch of Republican lawmakers and state legislators who decided to go in and redraw the state's maps. They didn't bring it to the people, whereas in California, we're doing this democratically and bringing it to the people. And again, so far the polls are showing that overwhelmingly voters approve of this. And they recognize, by the way, that this is not an issue that's happening just on a state-by-state basis, that this is an issue of protecting democracy across the country. Republicans are trying to entrench a permanent majority in the House. They're trying to do it in Texas. They're trying to do it in Missouri. Again, North Carolina, Kansas, Ohio, Florida. And so they recognize that this is a scheme being perpetuated by Trump and by Republican leadership to give themselves permanent majorities in the House.
Jessica, do you see it as a scheme?
The role of drawing those district lines lies with the state legislature in Texas. It does not lie with California legislature. We have been very clear. It is the Citizens Redistricting Commission that draws those lines because the power belongs with the people. In Texas, they are not violating their constitution by redrawing the lines. We are here.
Well, we're not, because we're literally bringing it to the people. And so the people are going to have the opportunity to amend their state constitution. That's why we have constitutions. They are imperfect. They are imperfect documents. They're constantly amended. And now the people are going to be able to have a say in doing exactly that.
Jessica, do you support independent redistricting for every state, like a national bill that would do that?
I think redistricting by an independent commission allows it to be decided by the people. It allows politicians to be more accountable to the people that they are serving. And I think it also puts us in a position where we have more competitive races.
So is that a yes nationwide?
Absolutely.
And you support something similar?
Absolutely. And in fact, I supported it when the Democrats put exactly that forward with the For the People Act in 2021. And do you remember how many Republicans voted for that bill?
No.
It was 0. Not a single Republican voted for independent redistricting commissions nationwide. And so I think it's interesting that you have all of these Republicans suddenly having their come to Jesus moment when it comes to independent redistricting commissions, only because it's happening in California. And yet there wasn't a single Republican, including Kevin Kiley, who we've heard from, who had come forward when Texas decided to redraw its maps. But suddenly when it's happening to them, when they get a taste of their own medicine, they cry foul.
Well, I think that's inaccurate because Democrats have been coming for mid-decade redistricting multiple times. We saw it in North Carolina. We've seen it in Pennsylvania, New York. It's not the same.
This is the first time we have had a mid-cycle redraw, and it happened in Texas.
It's happened multiple times over the last decade.
Yeah, let's meanwhile, we want to see what's happening overseas right now. President Trump, as we speak, is speaking in Seoul, South Korea. He's on this very high-profile trip. Going to be meeting with the president of China tomorrow. Expected to get this crown from the leader of South Korea. What do you make of President Trump on the world stage, how this trip is going, Brian?
I think you could not have a more evident example of Donald Trump's aggressive insecurity than the fact that other world leaders know that this guy needs to be handed a crown to feel special. I mean, my God, let me just say, thank God we don't have an emotional woman in charge of this country, because could you imagine the impulsiveness and the need for attention and adulation?
Your thoughts?
The president is very clearly taking on what he's done in his personal world and business world of being a deal maker, making sure that these alliances are strengthened after 4 years of an abysmal role on the national stage with the Biden-Harris administration.
Coming up next, we're going to stick around, and we have an interesting discussion about where do Democrats go from here. The approach that Governor Newsom is offering is very different than the one Pete Buttigieg is offering. We've talked to both of them in recent days.
I'm trying to pull us away from the drama, away from the personalities, away from the memes, and just down to what's actually happening in people's lives.
You think the Democratic Party has been weak. How so?
In every respect, I think weak and meek.
So that's Pete Buttigieg, the former U.S. Transportation Secretary, and California Governor Gavin Newsom, both of them seen as leading presidential candidates for 28, but both of them have very different communication approaches right now. Our panel's back to analyze that and more. Brian Tyler Cohen, host of the No Lie podcast, and Jessica Millan Patterson, current chair of the No on 50 campaign, former chair of the California Republican Party. So, guys, they both see how to communicate differently. Governor Newsom doing all this Trump trolling, very aggressive, in your face, mocking Trump. Pete Buttigieg says, that's not my style. Nothing wrong with Governor Newsom doing that. That's his style. It's not my style. I want to get away from the memes. What do you think's the better approach?
I don't know that it's necessarily a question of a better approach. I mean, the beauty and the curse of the Democratic Party is that it's a Big Tent party. And so you're going to have folks in that party who want to see the more circumspect approach by Pete Buttigieg. And that's going to work for a lot of people who identify as Democrats. But then you have a big faction of the Democratic Party, too, who does, to Gavin Newsom's point, recognize the desperate need for there to be Democrats who are willing to fight, who are willing to throw a punch, who are willing to get out there in the arena. I think personally that's a little bit more where I'm at right now. I mean, I've been begging for Democrats to get aggressive in this space and not just continue to be the only party kind of yearning for compromise and bipartisanship while we see Republicans running off the cliff in the other direction. So I think that both work. I personally, lean a little bit more toward Gavin Newsom's approach, but in a Big Tent party, you need Big Tent approaches.
There's a new poll out of New Hampshire, which is kind of crazy to look at a poll right now, considering they haven't officially even started running. But it showed that Buttigieg right now is the leading contender. Interesting that Kamala Harris is at 11 after being the previous Democratic nominee. Jessica, of these two approaches, the sort of Buttigieg, let's be more moderate and talk about issues, or Newsom, let's be Trumpy and do a bunch of AI images, which one do you think is better for Republicans?
Well, I don't think it really matters. I think that you can slap on whatever brand you want on the same crappy product, and it's going to be the same crappy product that a majority of Americans aren't buying. And that's why we saw the outcomes that we saw in the last election cycle.
Do you think it's a crappy product?
I mean, look, I think that if you are claiming that the Democratic brand is so damaged and that the party is so crappy, the fact that Democrats have overperformed by 14, 16 points in every special election leading up to this moment right now, the fact that Donald Trump is underwater even at a lower point than he was in his first term is a testament to the fact that Republicans are not doing anything to pull their own weight here.
I think that we are looking forward to 2026 and even beyond that.
So if Newsom is the guy, that could be a role for you in terms of fighting him. You've been fighting him for years. What do you think of him as a prospective candidate?
That would be very exciting. I don't think anyone in America is looking at California saying that's what we should be doing. When we're number one when it comes to homeless, when we're number one when it comes to the poverty rate, when we're number two when it comes to unemployment, number one when it comes to illiteracy rates. We've got an affordability crisis. Every single thing that Gavin Newsom has touched, he has failed. I don't think anyone's looking at California saying, hey, that's what we should be doing.
He hasn't failed at winning elections against the Republicans, though. He's won over and over again against you all, and it looks like he's probably going to win this Prop 50 battle. The question is, are other governors going to jump in on this from the Democratic side?
And the reality is they should. I mean, I don't, to any governors or state legislators out there, I don't know what the point of building up so much political capital is if you're not willing to use it in this particular moment. I mean, this is a moment where we cannot unilaterally disarm. And so if you're in a position where you have some power to redraw your maps, and I'm talking about these Democrats who are in Oregon and Washington and Colorado, New Jersey, New York, Maryland, across the country, if you have the ability to step up and meet this moment with the urgency that it deserves, I'm calling on you to do exactly what we're doing in California and to fight fire with fire and to take steps that you need to take right now to actually protect our democracy in light of the overreach that we're seeing at the hands of Donald Trump.
So in Hollywood, we would call that the direct appeal to camera.
That's right. That's right.
Just breaking
Found
the
my
fourth
camera.
wall, it's going straight there. Jessica, I mean, where does that all go? I mean, because it seems like all of this has just led to our country being more divided. And frankly, if we continue to just gerrymander everything, then we end up in a situation where people are not really accountable to voters anywhere, and Congress itself could be even more partisan and less accountable.
And that's what it comes to at the end of the day. It's about good government. It's making sure that our elected officials have that accountability from the people that are electing them, not them choosing who their constituents would be.
And I just wish we had that moral clarity when Donald Trump issued his clarion call to Texas to redraw those maps, and there was nothing but crickets from Republicans.
Let's remember that was the Biden DOJ that sent the letter regarding the 14th Amendment.
We're not going to agree on that, but I do like that both of you are in Dodger blue. Obviously, tough night for the Dodgers. The World Series now going at least 6 games. Your thoughts on the World Series, Jessica?
Well, pitching needs to continue to be lights out, like we saw for a couple nights. We need to make sure that those bats get going.
Yeah.
They're absolutely capable. We have the depth. We saw that last night.
Yeah.
I think they'll do it
18
in 6.
innings was incredible. You have thoughts? Do you care at
You know
all
what?
about baseball?
This is the one issue where I'll be completely deferential to Jessica here, and I agree with everything she said. Let's go Dodgers.
Okay, look at that, jumping on the bandwagon. I appreciate
That's right.
that.
Well, look, as a longtime born and raised New Jersey, New Yorker, you know, my allegiance is with these New York teams, but been here for 15 years, so I guess at some point you got to start rooting for the
That's enough time,
LA
and it's an
teams.
easy
Yeah.
bandwagon to be on with
That's
Shohei
right.
and the boys. All right, thank you both for coming in. Great to see you. We'll see
Congratulations
what
again.
happens.
Thank you for having us, and hey, congrats! That no one deserves it more than you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you both. Both are friends, and it's very cool that you're here. Coming up,